What's going on, Del HS community? Welcome to a brand new edition of Holding Court here on the First Day Hoops Report. Let me move this microphone closer so you guys can hear me a little clearer. To the First Day Hoops Report on the First Day Hoops Report YouTube channel, new edition of Holding Court. I'm First Day Hoops Report founding editor and Holding Court host Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you all are doing well out there. I'm actually recording this on Sunday morning. Usually, I like to get this done before Sunday morning, but I was busy, watching college football all day for my day job, so I went to bed around 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, woke up 6 a.m., went for a walk and said, all right, let's see if we can get this done before everybody gets moving and shaking for football Sunday or some of the, travel leagues. Cause I know a lot of basketball has fall leagues now, which is pretty cool. So not going to waste too much of you guys' time. All the contact information for First Day Hoops Report will be in the description below. Once again, our website is under construction. Hopefully that will be cleared up in a couple of weeks so we can start, getting back to the business of sharing what we're working on. And a part of that is I want to put this out there now for anybody that's paying attention. We've had a couple of athletes, actually three that I can think of off the rip, that have announced college commitments that are class of 2025. I want to congratulate those young ladies. Jordan Tate's headed to Westchester, Speedy Wilson's headed to Niagara, and Jada Snow is headed to Seton Hall. Pretty good landing spots for those young ladies. So congratulations to them. And once again, we don't leave anybody out. We don't care what level it is. We don't care if it's JUCO. We don't care if it's NIAA. We don't care if it's Division III, Division II, Division I. If you are going to be playing college basketball at the next level, please let us know. Once again, email address in the description below, as well as all the social media handles. So if it's class of 2025, if y'all are committing, let us know. We'd love to hear it, and we'd love to put it on the website. So I'm not going to waste too much of you guys' time. As I said, I know why you're here, and it's pretty much why I'm here as well. So Thursday, the big news from the DIAA meeting was that starting October 11th, which is 4 weeks away. Yeah, 4 weeks away just about. Delaware high school athletes can start signing name, image, and likeness deals, NIL. And what this means is they can make money like the college athletes do off of their name, their image, and their likeness. So if you best example I can give is we know professional athletes have, sponsorships and, name brand deals and all of that stuff. Like you can just pick off the rip that LeBron James is sponsored by Nike. Asia Wilson is sponsored by Nike. Who else can I think of? Shoot. It's a lot of, you can look at major professional athletes and see they have endorsement deals of all kinds. That's what I meant. Endorsements and deals like that. So now high school athletes can get endorsement deals, basically. Only thing is it cannot be tied to athletic performance or the school they attend. So there's still some regulations in place. And I know people are going to feel cynical about that because, there's different ways to work around things as we've seen at various levels of athletics. And I don't think high school athletics is any different. But for DIAA to be able to put this in place for now, it kind of sort of keeps the foolishness away for the time being. Is there to say there won't be foolishness? Of course not. But if they can limit it, that's the key. And that's what we're going to find out. We're going to find out also just how many stars we have in this state. And this is not a knock on any child. Don't get it twisted. I'm just being completely honest about the situation. I can think of I can think of one athlete off the rip that I know of who would make a bag off NIL. And of course, that would be one Giselle Gigi Banks. Like, she is a walking billboard. Like, the money for her is going to be what everybody thinks is going to be for them. It's actually going to be for Gigi. So, I don't think that this is something that is a negative, because it's already, honestly, high school sports in Delaware is already, to me, in a negative space. As I've said time and time again, that the death of public education is why things are the way they are in high school sports here in Delaware. And that's beyond Dave Baylor and DIAA's control, quite honestly. There's nothing they can do about the fact that legislators have done nothing to protect public education, or have only done things to enhance the charter school, the private school, and I say this as a Howard alum. I went to Howard when it was Votech. I'm not one of these old school Howard alums. Shouts out to my pretty much everybody in my family for the most part. We were a Howard family, and they went when it was Oliver Otis Howard. I only know a couple of people. My older sister and my god brother went when it was Howard Career Center, but I went when it was Howard High School of Technology. But my mom, my aunts, uncles, they were all Oliver Otis Howard High School. So Howard even is Votech. And even they get the short end of the stick sometimes. I mean, they're the only quasi public high school in the city, to be quite honest. But the fact the legislature has done nothing to save public education, enhance it, because we're still looking for a high school in the city of Wilmington. The last traditional high school in Wilmington was Wilmington High, and that closed in 1999, and it became Wilmington Charter. If that's not a sign of the times, I don't know what is. But again, that's beyond Dave Baylor and DIAA's control. There's not too much he or they can do about the legislators, the neighborhood people not really caring about public education. Because if the people that lived in Christiana wanted to save Christiana, Christina schools, excuse me. If the people that lived in the Christina school district wanted to save the Christina school district, they really could. But their kids don't go to Christina for the most part. Their kids go to Votex. Their kids go to faith-based schools. Their kids go to Votex. They don't care about what happens to Christiana, Newark, and Glasgow. They don't. I mean, if you've watched any of the Christina School District board meetings, that's very obvious. Shouts out to Sean Green of WDEL. He is one of the busiest people I know, and he does a great job of following everything that needs to be followed with respect to high school and education and sports here in Delaware. And watching his threads on Twitter of the foolishness that is the Christina School District board meetings, whew, Lord have mercy. That is not for the faint of heart. But you can see when the adults are acting like fools, it's hard for the children to follow that. I mean, not follow that example. They only do what they see. And they see the adults acting a doggone fool. But yes, if the people that lived in these districts, like Red Clay, like Christina, like Brandywine, and I think Brandywine does a little better job, but only by force of nature. I don't know, but again, NIL and the transfer stuff. And I disagree with the transfer rule for this reason only. You can't limit where people go for the best opportunity for themselves. You can't tell a parent, I'm going to keep your child at this school where they're not going to be seen. And it's obvious they have athletic talent. It's clear. But I can't let your child move on because I'm trying to do something to save the public schools that is beyond my control. Like I've said, like I've made an example a million times. You can put a kid that's average for basketball perspective. You can have a kid that's averaging 25, 30 points a game in Red Clay, Christina, or Brandywine, and that won't move scouts and college recruiters. But that 25 to 30, that can be like a 16 to 20 at a Howard or an AI or an Appo or a Middletown or a Salesianum or a St. Mark's. That's going to get them seen a little more. It just is. And it stinks that it has to be that way. But again, you got to take this up with the folks down at down in Dover. Because they're the ones that let this charter school and specialty school movement get out of control, quite honestly. And Delaware has some of the best charter schools around, quite frankly. But it came at the expense of public education. I will always believe that. You cannot move me off of that. I will not listen to you if you try to convince me otherwise, because I have watched it in action. I have family members who have been affected by this. I was one of the last kids to realize that, to go through a public education in any sense. My mom had me as the only time I did not have a public school education was when, for some strange reason, my mom decided to put me in Catholic school through first and third grade. Shouts out to St. Peter's over on the west side. That's where I went to first, second, and third grade. I told my mom after third grade, I ain't want to be in Catholic school no more. So I went to Bancroft. Then I went to Bancroft for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Then I went to Gauger for 7th and 8th. The school with no windows. Hopefully this new Gauger they're building actually has some doggone windows because that school was depressing, Jack. Super depressing. Whew. And then, of course, I went to Howard High School of Technology. So outside of Gauger, years 4 through 12, I used to walk to school because I lived on the east side. So these are the things you have to think about when you want to blame kids and their parents for transferring. You got to put this on the powers that be in these neighborhood groups that say, oh no, we don't want these kids bust into our neighborhood and we don't want our kids bust out into other neighborhoods. Even though you're probably putting your kids in different schools where you're going to have to put them on a bus or drive, or when they're old enough, buy them a car. Shout out to you kids who drive cars now. I'm jealous of y'all. When I was in high school, I didn't get a car. I didn't. And I'll never forget, I tried to buy a 1981 Chevette for $200, boy. My mom said, absolutely not. I'm still hurt behind that. And that was over 25 years ago. That's another story for another day. But yes, you literally have to be clear on who you should train your ire on with this whole NIL and transfer stuff. Because it's not, and I have my issues with DIAA as far as, media credentials and stuff go. I'll talk more about that in another episode. But you can't blame them for the way that the state legislators have dropped the ball with respect to public education. So that's why you have kids now who transfer schools 2 or 3 times in a high school career. You have NIL now because these kids are literally able to do things that kids in high school back in my day couldn't do. And we had superstars back in my day. Not to sound, get off my lawn-ish, even though the grays in my beard are starting to come in a little thicker than I had hoped they would at this point in time in my life. But hey, that's where we are now. We grow, we get old. But we had superstars in the 90s. I mean, when I was coming up, you had Corey Curtis at Glasgow. You had Lenny Brown and Gary Lumpkin at William Penn. You had Corey Wallace at Newark. You had female athletes like, I think Coach Caldwell at Caravel. She was the first 2,000-point scorer, male or female, in this state. She would have made a killing off of NIL because not only did she play basketball, she was a kicker on the football team. She played baseball. No, not softball, baseball, and was in the band. You telling me that Kristen Caldwell in 1999 wouldn't have, had all kinds of brand deals? I mean, we had superstars back when I was in high school, buddy. And I'm not saying these kids aren't, don't have a following today, because social media, that's one of the keys. Social media has given these kids a ton of eyes on them now. But we'll find out who's who with this NIL stuff. And this is, again, this isn't to knock any kid, but to be marketable, to be promotable, to be visual, it takes a lot. It takes an awful lot. And that's why I mentioned Gigi, because if you have not noticed, the young lady is everywhere. Like, she's doing the podcast with Overtime. She's a part of the Overtime select team. They just played their championship round this weekend. Overtime is one of the biggest youth basketball outlets in the country, probably the biggest, to be honest with you. And Gigi's one of their main stars. She's going to make a killing. She's going to make a bag. Not every kid is going to have that same level of success at NIL. And that's okay. That's okay. Not everybody can be a megastar. Not everybody can be a walking billboard. It's okay. But I do think we should be careful. And that's why I think it's a good thing that DIA put the regulations in place that it can't be related to the school, because this keeps businesses out of schools, quite honestly. For now, because again, there will be some scammers and some shysters and some sneaky folks that are going to find a workaround in some form or fashion. I don't doubt that for a second. But it still helps to have something in place to check the foolishness. And credit goes to DIA for putting that in place. But overall, my feelings on NIL, I don't mind kids making money, because we all had to get jobs at some point in high school. I know I did. I worked every year of high school. My first job actually in high school was working for the Enterprise Community Youth Clean teams that the city of Wilmington used to give kids $50 a week to sweep the streets of Wilmington. Back in 1995, 96, that wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough to save and buy some sneakers or some clothes, or in my case, books, because I was a book nerd. Like I wish I still had my library from when I was a kid, man. But yeah, that's what I used to spend my little $50 a week on. So, but yes, I had then I worked at People Summit Rec Center for a little while. I actually got fired from that job because I didn't show up a lot. Rest in peace to Mr. Coleman Smith. He taught me the value of showing up by firing me. And I really appreciate him for that. I miss him every day. He was one of my mentors growing up. I had a co-op job my senior year at Howard. So every year in high school, I worked. So these athletes got to make some money somehow. I mean, their parents can't all, pay for everything. So maybe these kids get a little, sneaker money, little, clothes money, or they'll be smart, save up. And if they, want to buy a car, they can, or do something else with their money. Whatever they want to do with their money is cool with them. So, I mean, it's not that much different from us regular kids having to get after school jobs. It just means that these kids are able to make money because they are good athletes. And I don't think there's any shame in that. I just think there's a shame that their anger about the way high school athletics in Delaware is changing is misdirected. It can't be DIAA's fault. It's the people in Dover. And yes, the DIAA office is in Dover. I'm fully aware of this, but I mean the folks that make the bills and the laws of this state. They could have done something to save public education, and they chose not to. So that's why everything is so scattershot right now, at least above the canal, because public education in Kent County and Sussex County seems to be humming right along. But Newcastle County above Middletown, above the canal, that's a different story. It's just the facts. But that's going to do it for this edition of Holding Court. Didn't want to hold you guys too long, but I did want to make my comments on NIL. I'll probably do something midweek about the new DIAA media policy, which I'm still reading through. And believe me, I've done journalism for going on 23 years. Yes, some of you content creators, I've been doing this longer than y'all have been alive. So that's why I say if you need advice on something, don't be afraid to holler at a player. I will help you to the best of my ability. But yes, I'll probably do a midweek John, about the new policy once I finish reading through it. But want to thank you guys for watching Holding Court. As always, greatly appreciate your time. Once again, contact information will be in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. And until midweek, when I get back to you guys, y'all take care of yourselves and each other.